Hello neighbor, I'm Robert Burns, Vice President of the Louisiana Association of Professional Auctioneers. I wanted to take just a few moments to comment in regard to revitalizing continuing education, or CE for short. First of all, let me just say that Reverend Phillips and I, Reverend Phillips being the president of LAPA, we both adamantly support continuing education. And I want to say that the vast majority of the efforts of which we do for the LAPA website constitute continuing education. Not only that, it's the best form of continuing education because it allows you to go in and see hearings. You get to see issues that are brought up that have landed other auctioneers in trouble. And what better way to keep up with what potentially can get you into a hot water than seeing those hearings? And also it gives you the entire process of how the hearing process works. In addition to that, we've got an index that shows you discussions that the LALB is carrying on, whether it be reciprocity with Mississippi, the apprenticeship program. All of that is listed alphabetically so that you can stay up to date on the latest and most recent discussions by the LALB. And here's the beautiful part. It's delivered right to your home, and it's optional. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. But if you start to focus in on some of the discussions that the LALB/LAA are now having about revitalizing continuing education, listen carefully. They say they don't want any kind of online feature for it. They want you to be physically present. And at the last meeting, or at the meeting you're going to be watching the video, Mr. Sims said the auctioneers they want this to be controlled outside of the LALB. Polite little hint there is they're wanting to force people to show up at the LAA convention because they're not having very widespread attendance at these conventions. And I would submit, think a little bit beyond that. What kind of mood do you think people are going to be in who have been compelled to attend something they did not want to attend so that they can boost your attendance numbers at your convention? Think a little bit beyond 2 feet in front of you. They're not going to be happy. And as you probably can remember from 5 years ago when CE was abolished, there was adamant stands by those in the LAA, including the president, Mr. Buster Gay, who, when he saw there were a few people who wanted to support continuing education, he said, and I quote, "Well, go ahead and vote stupid if you want to." Okay? Now again, we support continuing education, and we believe we are delivering to you the best quality continuing education available by allowing you to see the current discussions that take place on things like Mississippi reciprocity, apprenticeship program, used motor vehicle collaboration between the two agencies. All of this is keeping you current and up to date. And so isn't it ironic that the LALB, in all of its infinite wisdom, would seek to block you having access to that? They will not even put a link to the LAPA website up on their website. So just bear that in mind as these ongoing discussions of continuing education transpire.
Bother me if the license fee was $500. I feel like if there is a surplus of money that needs to be spent, we ought to be investing in our auctioneers. I'd like to see that money spent on continuing education, bring back continuing education. Our auctioneers are not full-time auctioneers. They need this continuing education. We need to be and with the way things change, the laws change, and things that are happening, there's no way for them to keep abreast of the changes that are going on without bringing continuing education back. So I know I'm talking about continuing education. That's what a lot of these auctioneers, they do an auction once a year, maybe not even once a year. There's no way they can keep abreast of what's going on. So 30 years, and every day my business is changing. Every day what we deal with, the laws are changing. If you watch the real estate, the realtors, we've got continuing education.
Every year.
Every year.
One of them, I know.
Exactly.
The agenda is continuing education. And I mean, this is something that I'll be the first to say I support it. With this board and voted vehemently for it. But apparently the overwhelming industry did not want it. And, you know, even if we thought about doing it and bringing it back and utilizing resources for that, we have to find someone to sponsor the bill. We have to find legislation to support the bill. And I'm quite sure the guy who actually put the legislation to take it out is going to be somewhat adamant against someone trying to bring it back when he went so far as to implement removal, and that's Representative John Quinn. And so we need to really take into consideration whether or not it's feasible, whether or not it's something that the individuals really want. I don't have to have forced continuing education to continue education. I do it because I need to stay abreast to the profession. So implementing it back is not going to do anything to help, because we had problems when it was implemented as well as we had it when it wasn't. So,
you know, thank you. I just like to respond as far as the continuing education. I'm not going to agree with Mr. Phillips as far as, I'm trying to remember what he said, that not feeling we needed it or the auctioneers didn't want it. Totally disagree. It might have got taken out, and I'm not going to say that everybody was against continuing education. I'm not sure how many auctions Mr. Phillips does a year. As I told you, I'm a full-time auctioneer. When these auctioneers don't have that education, or when you can go get a license for $5 and you go out there and mess up, you're affecting my livelihood.
Absolutely.
And my reputation. And you tarnish the auction industry. And so that you know, it's easy for us to get up there and say, if we're not doing this for a living. I would probably guess there's less than 25 auctioneers full-time. I may be wrong, but I'm just thinking there's probably less than 25 full-time auctioneers that are doing this for a living. So that you've got an opportunity for the rest of them that don't have this education or can go get a $5 license fee to tarnish either the industry or our reputation.
Continuing education. Do we need a motion to discuss?
Let's discuss.
Second.
I asked this item to be placed on the agenda because I'm being pressured from my people on the north side of the state. And I understand I've already had several conversations with people from the central part of the state, southern part of the state as well. Everybody I've talked to, the general consensus is they want the continuing education brought back, but they want it brought back under board regulations, not in statute. Well, how can we do the other?
We're going to have to do it by statute. Y'all repealed the continuing education statute. You can't just bring, we can encourage it, we can recommend it. You cannot require it unless it's in statute.
Well, I suggest Johnny Quinn won't have nothing to do with July. Just bring him on down here because we're going to talk to him about it. Because if I have to, if he's a kicking and screaming coming, let me know, because I'll bring some of the most influential auctioneers from North Louisiana. That's his old board to apply for it. But seriously, they want this back. And Barbara's right. It should have never been done away with. I was in a meeting that was voted by the association to do away with it. And it wasn't, you know, it only got voted to do away with it by a couple of votes. It was pretty heated and pretty close vote. But nonetheless, they want it back. Marvin Henderson has said something to me about wanting it back because it's a burden on these people to get this education somewhere else. Now, how we work out the keys to do it, we'll have to work that out later. At least we got money now to do it.
My position has always been for licensees as well as businesses, and especially businesses, because if things, for example, GNR, those people had no clue because they were not required to have any education prior to getting a business license. My recommendation for business is that y'all consider requiring them to undergo a certain amount of pre-licensing information. And then also for people coming in from out of state, or even those who are not getting it, make sure they understand how we do auctions legally.
Can we put that in the regulation?
I can look at it, I can look at the question of whether or not you can put it right down in the businesses.
We'll put it in on businesses, I mean, we have to, we just have, the board members will have to take turns teaching that seminar.
Because,
Yes, a couple things. You know, not all of us get to go to convention, but you need to really interface with auctioneers from around the state. I think when a couple of years that I got to go to continuing education, that was one of the places I got to meet a lot of these guys from all Louisiana, different parts of the state, and kind of put names and faces together. So that 6 hours that we were spending there was not only from an educational aspect, but a relationship aspect was very good to me as a young auctioneer. If I want to get my Texas license, I see they have 6 hours continuing education. If we offered it in Louisiana, that would reciprocate over there instead of me having a Texas license and go to possibly some of their continuing education. Is that the way that?
and we've given it up. I know LAA has given continuing education for Texas.
Yeah.
And we provided the necessary law and other portions of it required by their
I
statute.
did that when I was probably got out and teach it.
Yeah. So I think it has a lot of merit. I think it has more positive than negative. This is one of those things that I wasn't real sure why they did away with it, but I'm leaning as if I'm in favor to get back with it. I would like to maybe poll some of my fellow auctioneers and see what they feel about it, but I definitely want us to move forward with it. And thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and
I think we need more discussion on that, we need more input from other auctioneers.
I mean,
Right.
A lot of people, a lot of the auctioneers in New Orleans would be against it.
well, I'm gonna put it like this. Every other agency in the state, I mean, I've had people that's on those boards that are friends of mine that have asked me why we did away with continuing education, because when word got out, everybody else, some of them wanted to. How many hours were it to continue education?
It's 16,
16 hours, 2 full days.
and I have to do it also in Mississippi, so we have 32, because I'm licensed also in
So,
Mississippi.
I mean, everybody is, as far as I know, everybody's got continuing education now in the state except us, Louisiana License Board of Contractors, all the two that don't care.
But I think we need more discussion.
I agree.
But
But,
I would like, well, the thing is, I would like to pull the
I
opportunity.
mean, if Johnny Gwynn don't want to do it, I'll get Mike Wallworth, West Monroe to do
And
it.
I don't think there's a point to be thinking about, because I know when you said that New Orleans auctioning for things, well, the reason I believe they were against it is because it was 4 chances to do it. You can only go 4 times a year. We had cut it back. If you missed that, I mean,
We had
for
to go
one,
back and forth.
one, right, you have to travel, a 2-day thing, or you have to pay to take this online auction course. It was the same course year after year after year.
Yeah, let me say
was
this, we could put more
the
restrictions
options.
on it, we can give everybody 2 years to accomplish it rather than one.
Or some option, exactly,
Yeah,
and
a
some
lot
other
of
options for some other classes. It was very limited, but I agree with you guys, the more that I see, disciplinary action, people do need to be educated.
And maybe as we look at that too, I know the ethics board, we have to either go to a meeting or we can do it based online. And there may be some options that folks couldn't make the meeting, but didn't want to make the meeting, they could do a computer-based program and get it done.
We had that before.
Yeah, we allow that.
Also put some on.
You know, we put some where we can subsidize some of the cost, but I don't think we need to pay all of it.
Well, and